this opportunity that we have today is very special, I guess. I mean, I know other temples have already started doing the online classes since this pandemic hit, but this is kind of an experiment for us here because we've never done this before, at least not using this app as well. So I hope that things run pretty smoothly. Now, of course, we do live in these extraordinary times. None of us has ever experienced this pandemic that we're in right now. A lot of people have died. They continue to die from this virus. But it is sad. And unfortunately, I mean, people, we have to learn, 100 years ago, or a little bit over 100 years ago, there was another pandemic, what they call it, the Spanish flu, that killed a lot more people so far anyways. This seems, but, we know that, as someone who's received a Tao, we know that we are in this white period, the white era, that we call the white era, where there are many calamities, disasters, including things like pandemics. Okay, so this type of thing may be a more common occurrence now, just like we know from the climate change, climate warming, that there are more storms, stronger, more powerful storms, right? What used to be a 100-year storm might become a 10-year storm, So things are happening here, and that is why the Tao is so much more important today. That it's available. It's still available for people to receive the Tao. To basically that is having God's mercy to want to save as many good people as possible. Okay, during these times of calamities. All right. So let's see. Okay. So, but yeah, during this crisis, okay, there are a lot of. We see a lot. It's in the news constantly, and you see people always, there are always people who rise up to the challenge during these times. Some people, where they're like, especially the doctors, nurses, the front, basically the first responders. All these people are, sometimes they have to put their lives at risk to save others, and that's that you can say that that's the best of humanity that we see there. But at the same time, you also see people who try to take advantage of these crises and take advantage of people in the situation during these times too. People who, buy up all the hand sanitizers and they have truckloads and they try to sell it at a huge profit. So that is like pretty low, okay, the low of the low of humanity. So unfortunately, we see both sides. And that is really the nature, that is human nature. Okay, so, but we try to get rid of, we want to, the Buddhas, they see humans or all sentient beings, they see that there is, because of our ignorance, it's basically due to our ignorance, our, greed, that and our desires that cause all these problems. And so we have to understand that, So part of it is, understanding what life is about. What's the meaning of life? If we just look at life as just, the present time, my present life here and now, that is kind of like a more existentialist view of things. And so you may not think that there are consequences to our actions. But in reality, there is, even whether or not we believe in it. A lot of people may not believe in karma, causality, or reincarnation, right? But these are they're universal laws, and they are true. So it's important for us to understand that, to learn that, so that we can kind of have a better idea of really, why are we here? So the meaning of life really is also understanding our purpose. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So, let's see. Okay. So the meaning of life. So life seems like, sometimes we call it like a rat race, or it's like a maze. We go through life, and sometimes we end up in a dead end. We end up, depending, and everything is up to us. I mean, it's basically, sometimes we are definitely put into a situation, of course, and this is, again, due to our own karma, right? Not everyone is born different situation. Our lives are different because of, again, of our karma. These are all pre-existing conditions or causes that put us in these in our present condition, okay, state. So that is something, again, another, this concept or principle that we have to understand in order to help us deal with life, right? Okay. Whoops. Okay. Okay. So, life, of course, we begin when we're born. It's not. Let's see. Did you ever? I don't know if any one of you ever asked yourself, why was I born? Why am I here in this world? I've actually had that thought before, and it's not necessarily why was I born, but why, what's my purpose here, in life? And then, well, life is kind of strange. Zhuangzi said, I did not wish to be born, yet I was suddenly born. And I do not wish to die, yet sudden death suddenly arrives. So, we don't know the reason. Actually, we can categorize being here as, with two reasons. One is basically karma. Okay, again, karma put us here. When the conditions, because karma is basically, we can see it in this life, that when we we are planting the seeds with every action, every words, all our words, all our thoughts, our intentions, that kind of like plants the seeds of future karmic results, okay? And so basically, when we do that, let's see, so basically, so what's happening now, so if we understand the causality, right, this principle of causality, of that when there's a result, there had to have been a cause, okay? So everything, you can say everything that's happening is a result, okay, of some cause, earlier cause. Now, just because we didn't see that cause doesn't mean that it didn't exist. There had to have been something there that caused, made things happen. It's just that when the conditions are right, then for that cause to manifest as the result or the consequence, then it will happen. If the conditions are not right, then it won't happen. Okay, so let's see. Okay, actually, I did forget one thing to say in the very beginning. Okay, so I want to thank the grace of heaven and the virtues of the masters, the mercy of the grand predecessors, all the transmitting masters, and everyone here to have this opportunity to present this topic to you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we can see that when babies are born, they cry, right? You can say that, okay, the doctor slapped them, and so they start crying. They feel the pain. But obviously, you can say that too. But it's to get them breathing. However, I think people, when we're born, we cannot speak, we cannot express ourselves in any other way except through crying. But we probably do know inside, deep inside, that, yeah, to live is to suffer. Okay, so, and that's why they're crying. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not all babies are born crying, but anyways, that I think that's true for pretty much most of them. So suffering, yeah, we probably, we didn't want to be here, but we were forced here by our karma. Okay, unless we were born as a result of our vows, so Buddhas and saints, bodhisattvas, they all can choose to be born into this world. And the reason why they would do that, I mean, most people would say, well, why do you want to do that? Why do you want to suffer? Well, they do that to try to, because they have pity, they have compassion on, all this. They see all the sentient beings suffering in the world, and they want to try to help and try to awaken the sentient beings, people, to the true reality, to the truth, so that they can also leave this, what in Buddhism they call the bitter sea of life. Okay, so that is really also our mission, right? Is to do that. Every one of us here, that's why we learn, and so that we can also speak to others, talk to others, try to help get them to understand and help guide them in the right direction towards awakening, right? Now, ultimately, it doesn't really matter why we were born. Okay, the question really is, should be that, what do we do now that we're here? Okay, that's really, I mean, because we can't change, we can't be unborn. Okay, can't take that back. So now that we're here, what should we do? I mean, we should definitely try to live our life to the fullest. And it's not necessarily what society tells us we should do, because society definitely may not have the right answers, okay, for us. But, all right, so the other thing to realize is that we are not just a biological being, that the brain is not the control center. It does not give us creativity, give us thought, give us feeling, emotions. It's actually, we have this Buddha nature. Okay, the Buddha nature is what enables us, gives us that consciousness, gives us everything else, our awareness. Okay, so, but it's acting through the brain. Okay, so obviously our body is a tool. Okay, so it's like when you have a car, the car is like our body, but the car does not function by itself. There has to be a driver. Okay, so our Buddha nature is that driver, right? But today, of course, you have, maybe autonomously driving cars, but anyways, all right, so let's see. Okay, so life is basically this journey from birth to death. This is kind of like the overall picture, if you will, we look at. Okay, so, as a baby, we pretty much can't do anything ourselves, and parents have to kind of help do everything, kind of feed us, do everything, clean us up, all that, and take care of us. And then as we grow up, we start to learn. We learn how to really use this, get used to our body, and do things, be able to do things, okay? And then we also go through a process of education to learn. Now, the stuff that we learn in school is, you can say some of it's practical and useful in society, but a lot of it is actually, I don't know, it doesn't really help us. A lot of it is, we learn a lot of stuff, and, I look back on what I've learned, and of course I've forgotten a lot of it because you never use it again. And so you kind of wonder, what is that knowledge good for? But actually, the process of learning, that actually helps us. It kind of helps us develop our mental capacity, ability. All right. And then after graduation, we start working, and make, have a career, make a living. Of course, again, this is something that's in society today. Money is like the currency that we need. I mean, we need to use money buys everything, right? So you need to make money to basically make a living, survive. Okay. Eventually, of course, we get older, or we are constantly getting older, actually, but we will encounter getting sick along the way, right? I don't think I've encountered anyone who's never gotten sick, whether it's just something simple like the common cold or something even more severe, okay? And so it's important that, we try to stay healthy, right? No one likes to be, live a long life and be sick all the time. And that's no good. So we should do our best to stay healthy. And then eventually, we meet the grave. Okay, so that's where we end up. All right. So the beginning, I mean, birth is basically the beginning of death, the start of death. And death, though, is the start of a new rebirth. All right, so everything is happening in a cycle. We cannot view life as just with this life, from the day I was born to the day I die. It goes beyond that, because again, we have this Buddha nature, we have a soul. Okay, the soul continues, persists throughout, beyond, it spans more than one of these physical lives. All right. That's why, so basically when we talk about karma, basically the soul is what carries that karma with us, okay, from life to life. All right. Okay. So, yeah, let's see. Okay. Okay. So life is a zero-sum game. What I mean by that, now in game theory, zero-sum means, when someone gains, someone else loses. So basically the net is still the same, the net result. Okay, so the total, if you will. Now, what I mean here is basically, we begin empty-handed, right? When we're born with nothing, and we always, at the end, when we die, we end up empty-handed, right? We cannot take anything with us, right? So everything is left behind. And so, in paraphrasing in the Bible, Genesis says that we are made from dust and we shall return to dust, right? You've heard, as part of prayer, I guess it says, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Okay, so that is really our physical, we're talking about the physical aspect, that our body is basically made up of the same stuff as dust. Okay, it's all those atoms. All right, but of course, our soul, our Buddha nature, that is it's it has no form, but yet it's amazing that when it is within, like a human being, that that gives us consciousness. It gives us, we have a conscience, all that. Now, even the greatest, you can say one of the greatest rulers, I guess, of the world, Alexander the Great. Okay, now he conquered, like all throughout the Middle East, the Mediterranean area, and also down all the way to India, in fact. And so he had conquered most of the known world. Excuse me. And yet, when he died, again, he had nothing. He couldn't take any of it with him either. Now, supposedly, the story goes that one of the things that he instructed his doctors to do was to stick his hands outside of his coffin to show that they were empty. Okay, so that. But I don't know if that's a true story, but anyways, that's a point well taken. All right. All right. So basically, the journey. Okay. So because it's a zero-sum game, there's really nothing to be had or to be gained, and that we can possess at the end of life, right? So basically, we at the end of life. Right. So what's more important is our journey in life. Okay, so what do we do in life, right? So obviously, so I mean, we can like gain things throughout life. Sometimes we lose things, but don't think at the end of that life that we're going to still be able to hold on to these things. Okay, so it kind of gives us puts life into perspective, that we don't want to be so attached to the things that we're trying to gain in life, that we forget this kind of the bigger picture. Okay. All right. Okay, so life, it's kind of like a rat race. Okay, so in this cartoon here, it says happiness is just around the corner. And it says work harder. Okay, so they just go around the corner and says earn more money, right? and then go around the corner again. It says buy more things, and then it comes around and say keep going. So basically, it's this vicious cycle. And have they really found happiness? They didn't find happiness. Basically, they're trying to. Yeah, everyone wants to be happy. They're looking for happiness, but where do you find it? That's the question. Is it in making more money and buying more things? Of course, that's what society today. All these companies are trying to sell you a product, and so we have to kind of take a step back, say, wait, do I really need this? Is this going to make me happy? A lot of people, our interests change, and so you buy this, and it says, oh yeah, I'm happy for a little while, but then it changes again, or they come up with something new. So it's like right now there's this whole cycle of technology where we have new phones every year. They come out with new models, and boy, some people they just have to have the latest. And so, but it's all very transient, it's very temporary, right? It's only good for 1 year, and then you replace it. So this is an endless cycle, and you're just spending all that money. And so we really need to put things in perspective and say, well, let's take a step back. Hey, I really don't need that, right? Because where is really the happiness is not really in these things. It's just like a child, they see a toy and say, oh, mommy, I want that. And the mother buys it for the child, and the child plays with it. But then later on, the child sees another toy, say, oh, no, I want that one. I want that one. And so they forget about the first one. And so this is how we are. I mean, as humans, that's generally how it is. But part of life is to understand. We really should understand ourselves, understand what it is to be a human being, and what that entails. If we understand that, the common human behavior is to do these things, but yet we should try to be, in the Tao, we say we have to go upstream. We have to go against the current. And it's not, the normal current, the flow of society. It could be going in the wrong direction, right? And especially today, it's all about consumerism. Capitalism is really, it's also kind of a selfish ideology. It's everyone for themselves. As long as, I benefit, then everything is good. So that is something that we have to realize that it's not quite right. Okay. Okay. So now, and sometimes in pursuing a goal, let's say you wanted to, buy a house or do whatever. Mostly, people it's about making money, right? Now, when you make money, don't forget why you're making the money, what you're making it for. Okay, so in the end, don't end up, at the end of your life, say, oh, I keep trying to make money, but then you weren't able to enjoy it or even achieve your goal. You were just caught up in that process, in the means of trying to make more money. So it's like kind of missing the forest for the trees, right? So basically, we need to kind of, again, take a step back and put things in perspective. Don't get caught up in that. Just like, or in cultivation, right? So some people, they meditate. Meditation can be good. I mean, we have to view these things as all a means rather than an end in itself. Okay, so, or a tool, right? So it should be like a tool. So people who cultivate, sometimes they do meditation, right? Some people. And the meditation, if they treat it as an end, okay, in and of itself, then that's a problem. It's, basically they become attached to that. And so once we become attached to that, we are stuck there. We cannot go beyond it. All right. But meditation is not the end. Okay. It is just a way to get to our goal. All right. It can help us. But so we have to remember that, what is our goal and what is the means, or kind of say the tools to get there. And don't forget to kind of don't become too attached to those tools. Okay, so it's just like we say when we are crossing the river, right? We cross the river and we cross it in a boat. but when we get to the other side, why do we carry that boat with us? There's no need. We need to let it go, right? Because if we start carrying the boat on the other side of the river on land, that becomes a burden. Okay, so that's going to kind of become an obstacle for us to progress, to continue on. And so we have to learn to let go. That's another thing that, a life lesson, that we have to learn to let go of things. We pick things up, we use them when it's appropriate, and then we have to let it go when it's no longer needed. Okay. Now, mundane goals in life. I mean, so these are kind of like typical goals that we have, people have in life, right? Get an education and a degree. Okay, so actually, this is actually very important. It's not, to say that it's mundane is doesn't mean it's not important. Basically, of course, when we're young, school age, we have to learn. There's just too many things in the world that we need to learn about how, to be useful, to be able to function within the society. Okay, and also it helps with that second one, making money, right? So basically, unfortunately, a lot of people are basically trying to survive just to make a living. Okay, so let's see. Hold on. Sorry, I need to mute the mic here.
How the microphone figure out how to speak.
Okay, let's see. All right, sorry. Okay. Basically, unfortunately, people who are either living in poverty or, close to it, they're just really in survival mode, and that's all they can do, really. They have no time for anything else. They're constantly working, trying to support themselves, their families, but that should not be a goal, of course, for most people. It's like, we're not just trying to make money. Okay. Some people, they want to become the world's blank person, whatever you can fill in the blank there. Where there's the richest or the most powerful, or say you've done, you basically, you put your name into record books. But really, something like that is, these are all relative and it's all temporary. There's always going to be someone else coming later on who will have more than you did, or whatever, and they'll break the record. Okay, so I don't know. It's like, if you want your 15 minutes of fame, yeah, okay, but we shouldn't. That shouldn't be our life goal. Okay, there's nothing. In the end, again, we all die, and so there's nothing you can't take with you. And who's going to remember? Yeah, okay, so they remember that for that short period of time that you were the world's whatever person, but it doesn't last. Okay. Owning, a car, house, etc. These things, kind of practical things. Sure, these are, the American dream, right? To own a house, to own your own home. But again, okay, yeah, we can do that. But then, it's a matter of degree. Everything is relative again. How much of a house do we need? Do we need, to have a 10-bedroom house, or, is just 2 bedrooms good enough? There's no, we have to kind of regulate ourselves, our desires, our wants, because, as we try to pursue, say, oh, I want to buy a huge mansion, but I need to make a lot of money to buy it, millions of dollars. So then you end up spending all your time, like in the previous cartoon that you saw, it's just trying to make more money, and at the end of his life, he didn't really even accomplish his goal. Okay. Advancement of knowledge. Okay, so this is certainly a good goal, to try to advance knowledge, especially if it's shared with everyone. We want everyone to have more knowledge, but knowledge for knowledge's sake is not that good. There's this it depends on the knowledge. So not every knowledge, we don't need to know everything. Okay, there's some things that are more important. Now, there's this joke, okay, so about this scholar who he knows a lot, right? He's crossing this river on a boat. Okay, so, and he asked the ferryman, do you know literature? The ferryman says, no, I know nothing of literature. The scholar says, you cannot know the beauty. You do not know the beauty of literature. Well, then 30% of your life is dark and meaningless. A few minutes later, the scholar asks again, do you know anything about science? The ferryman replies, I never heard of it. The scholar sighs, saying, another 30% of your life becomes dark and meaningless. You are so pathetic. Okay, so so after a little while, they're still in the river as a storm suddenly appeared and capsized the boat. Then the ferryman shouts at the scholar, hey, Mr. Know-it-all, do you know how to swim? The scholar says, no, I can't swim, as he's trying to struggle to stay afloat. The ferryman then says, now your life is 100% dark and meaningless. Okay, so this is kind of like a joke, but basically not, it's not what we know necessarily or how much we know. Really, we need to know the right things, okay? And so studying, all the things that we learn outside in school, sure, those are useful, but they don't really teach us some of the more important things about being a human being, how to become a better person, really. They teach you, how to basically, compete against others and try to be, get ahead of other people. But that's not necessarily, that will help us as a human being, as a cultivator, okay, to achieve really what would, our ultimate goal. Our goal isn't to get ahead of other people, okay. All right, so, okay, so now, and then the latter two, like finding a cure, so maybe, research, if you're doing research or become a doctor, finding a cure for some disease. Hey, that's great. That can help a lot of people. But ultimately, this is still, doesn't really help. It helps them temporarily, basically, in this life. And you can say that maybe that's better than nothing. But, the goal of Tao is not to just save them in this life. It's really to save their soul, so that they don't have to come back and continue in this cycle of life forever, right? So even though we might cure someone's disease, but if they don't then realize what the meaning of life is, and they continue with their own ways, again, in the end they die, and then they're going to, because of karma, they're going to come back again. And again, it's going to be another life of suffering. So we want to break that cycle, right? And so that's really what the Tao is. And so that's important for us to learn about the Tao so that we can kind of convey or explain this to other people. Try to guide other people towards this awakening, right? Okay, so, we're basically running in a rat race of mundane pursuits. That last one, the last one, charity and philanthropy, okay, those are also good deeds. Charity, in fact, is one of the first of the 6 paramitas, what we call the six paramitas, and that's, one of the things that we do in cultivation is to do good deeds, help others, to benefit others. But of course, there are many ways to go about doing that. There are, people, obviously, depends on our means, right? You have Bill Gates, you have Warren Buffett, 2 of, the most richest people in the world, and they're giving up a lot of their wealth for good cause, to charity, through their philanthropy. Okay, so, and those are good. That's a good thing. I mean, that's good that they're doing that. Unfortunately, a lot of rich people, Jeff Bezos he's the number 1 right now. But I don't see him doing that. And so Gates and Buffett, you have to give them credit for realizing that, hey, they want to give back to society, give back to the world, okay, because they've gotten so much from it, right? So, so those are good causes. But ultimately, again, these are, they are trying to address the mundane, the stuff that's deals with the present life and the present human condition. But ultimately, we want to strive for enlightenment is the higher goal. Okay, so basically, so all those pursuits are basically, it's you're constantly in this rat race. And so, but maybe there is more. We need to kind of get out of that rat race, get out of that mode of, oh, we got to constantly get this thing, get the next thing, and see look at the big picture, try to set our goal, a more noble goal of just like what the sixth patriarch Hui Neng, when he came to see the fifth patriarch. Okay, this is in the Buddhism in China. Okay, so basically, he wanted, the fifth patriarch asked him, what is he looking for? And so the sixth patriarch, or the future sixth patriarch, says, I want to become a Buddha. Okay, so that really should be our goal. To become a Buddha means to be free of all the suffering, to be free of all these attachments. So that is the ultimate goal that we should keep in mind. Okay, obviously along the way, but we still have to live in this world, and so we still need to do the things that we need to do. We still need to get an education, to learn, and to make a living. But at least try to put things in perspective so that we don't overdo it. Trying to make money or trying to own so many things. Okay, because in the end, those are going to become obstacles if we can't let them go. Okay, if we can't let them go, we're going to end up having to come back here to to learn the lesson again, if you will, because life is full of lessons that we have to learn. Okay, so some of the things that we have to realize in life, the facts of life, basically, life is impermanent and unpredictable. Okay, so nobody lives forever. Science, of course, they're trying. Some people are talking about, why are looking into why cells age. Okay, but I think this is the natural law. Okay, so we can't change that. But some people are even willing to freeze their bodies, and so that in cryogenic freezing, and then hope that maybe in 100 years, 1,000 years, that they can be revived. And so, but that's kind of crazy. Now, also accidents, disasters, etc. They happen unexpectedly, right? A car accident could happen, plane crash, okay, disasters, terrorist attack, right? All these things happening in the world, and so no one can predict when something's going to happen or whether it'll affect me. There's no one. I mean, we don't think about it, but we think, as I go out on the streets, I don't think anything bad's going to happen. But we never know. It just all, again, depends on our karma. Okay. So, but as long as we are doing what we should be doing, doing good deeds, if we are performing merits, basically, and cultivating our virtues. Okay, so that can help us. And so coffins are made for the dead, not just for the old. So we think, well, only old people die. Well, that's not true. So we can see that, although, like, for example, in currently the, let's see, well, I'll get to that. But then, so the idea is here is that because things are unpredictable, we can't know the next moment. We have to seize the moment, basically. Take advantage of current opportunities. So like you're here today, you're listening to the class, that's great. You're taking some time out of your day to do this, and I appreciate that, and I'm glad that you also appreciate learning. Okay, so like for example, the what we said about the coffins are not just made for the old. This coronavirus thing has killed, although primarily has killed a lot of old people, the older ones who are basically frail. They have a weak immune system. Their health is not good already, and so this easily kills them. But there are also young people. There are also doctors, nurses who died. Okay, so it depends. We can't make a general statement. So we have to still be careful and understand that our mortality, our life, we just don't know, okay, when it'll end. And so we have to think about what's more important then in life, okay. life is also short. Basically, human life is short relative to, if you look at the history of the world or the history of the cosmos, the universe, right? It's very short, okay? So, of course, if you compare it to other life, the lives of animals or insects, it can be quite a bit longer than those. But it's all relative. Now, but the question is, okay, so and from a Buddhist point of view, or you can say from the eternal point of view, even from our Buddha nature, from the soul, the point of view of the soul has been around a lot longer. It's been around who knows how many lifetimes already, okay? And so this is just one lifetime, which is like a brief moment in time. And so the little time that we have, even though it might seem long, whatever, 60, 70, 80, 90, if we're lucky, 100 years, that seems like a long time. But how much time do we really have to do something useful? I mean, we have to sleep, we have to eat, we go to the bathroom. Some of the necessities, the things that we have to do kind of just to survive, take up at least half of our time. And so we only have maybe half the time to do the things. It's actually less than half the time to be able to do the things that are really, truly useful, okay? And really the value and the quality of life is more important than the length of life. I mentioned earlier that you don't want to be, you want to live to old age, but you're suffering all the time. So, and also the life that we live should be one of true value, okay? Basically, so some people who lived a short life, for example, some of these doctors, they're treating patients, they're trying to save people's lives, and yet they died young because of the coronavirus. Basically, was their life, did they live a life of value? Now, yes, I mean, even though it was cut short, they were doing something good for people, okay? And so just like Jesus, his life was short, but did it have value? Yes, you can definitely, because look at all the people he's influenced or affected through his teachings, and people still remember him, and you say they worship him now still, billions of people. Okay, so it's not really how long your life is. So it's what kind of value, the type of life that you lived. And so there are not that many people like that. But if you look at, basically, you have, like Jesus, you have Buddha, right? Billions of people they worship, and they follow his teachings. Why? Because of the value that they lived. Okay, so that is more important than anything. Okay. So, but value is relative. So here's a quote saying, that says, "My goal is not to be better than anyone else, but to be better than I used to be." Right? We tend to like to compare with other people and compete with other people. But ultimately, we need to basically, if you want to say compete, is to compete with ourselves. We have to be better. We have to be better than what we were before. So this is called improvement, right? We change our bad habits. We get rid of our bad habits. We change our temperament for the better. All these things. We always need to improve ourselves, and don't look at other people. If we start looking at other people and say, "Oh, look at that, look at those other people. They're not doing this. Why do I need to do this?" Then we're just foolish, okay? And we're just going to end up in the same fate as that. So really, we have to look inward, okay, towards ourselves and try to understand, what is our goal and how do we need to get there. And so this is part of it, is try to just improve ourselves. That's really all that matters. It doesn't matter what other people think of us, okay? We shouldn't let that happen. So basically, just worry about whether I am improving myself. That is really the most important thing. Okay. You should also treat every day as a new day. Okay, instead of just plodding through life with the same old routines, habits, and temper, we should cherish each new day as a chance to change our lives for the better, to repenting and correcting our mistakes, to get rid of our bad habits, to make a difference in other people's lives. Right? So sometimes we feel, oh man, it's another day. It's going to go through the same old routines every day. But that's kind of the external thing. But the internal side, we need to have a change. It's basically a change of attitude. Okay, so we have to treat each new day as a new beginning, that we can, whatever I did previously or yesterday, I can reflect on that and see if there's something I could have done better. Okay, or if I made a mistake yesterday, I need to correct that today. All right, so that's how we should view things, and that's kind of the internal view, as opposed to just looking at the external stuff, which we say, well, everything looks the same, is pretty much the same. So that is attitude is very important, okay, in life. Life has ups and downs, right? Nobody's life is always enjoyable or always suffering, right? There's always if there's a beginning, then there's always an end, all right? So when it is at our darkest hour, we have to have that faith. We have to have hold on to that faith, that hope, and we try to be optimistic. Okay, saying that yes, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Otherwise, hope. It's for human beings. We do kind of need that, but we don't want to have false hope, saying that there is when there's really no hope, that we still we believe that there is, but we should definitely try to be optimistic, right? Overcome these ups and downs and look at the bright side of things. Okay, so when things are good, we need to appreciate it and to be grateful. Now, when things are down, again, we should not be complaining, but rather we should learn from that episode, that experience. We should, life is full of experiences that we have to learn from. If we don't learn from them, we're just going to keep repeating them. And so if they're bad experiences, I'm sure no one wants to repeat bad experiences. And so therefore we need to learn from them and learn how to cope with it, learn how to deal with it, learn how to prevent it, okay, in the future. Okay, so everything, basically heaven and hell, we say heaven and hell is kind of experienced in our own mind. That's ultimately, true. This reality is experienced individually by everyone. Okay, but it's also all relative, right? There's the story of the old lady, right? Who's this woman who has two sons, right? One sells umbrellas and the other one sells ice cream. So on the sunny days, right, the one who's selling ice cream is doing well, but the one who sells umbrellas, well, he has no business. And problem is, the woman is complaining, my son, my poor son who's selling the umbrellas, he's not making any money. But then on the other hand, on rainy days, the son who's selling umbrellas has business, but the one who's selling ice cream doesn't. And she's again complaining that, my poor son who's selling ice cream, he's not making any business. That's the pessimistic view. Right? It's looking at the negative. But you have to turn that around and look at the positive. Say, at least, this one son, he's making money on sunny days. The other son is making money on the rainy days. And so if we take a more positive view, we are able to deal with life more easily. Okay, it's not, there won't be as much suffering for us. Okay, so we have to take it's important to have the right perspective, right? Whether the glass is half empty or half full. Basically, we should always view it as being half full. So like today, even though this pandemic, right, has caused a lot of inconvenience for us, it's like go out in the streets. Here in Flushing, anyways, pretty much all the stores are closed. Okay, so getting food, it can be a little bit difficult now. But there's some good that has come out of this. So in this world, there's nothing that is absolute. So you can't say that anything is absolutely bad. or absolutely good. Okay, there's some of both. Again, it all depends on our perspective. So this pandemic, yes, a lot of things are happening. The whole economies are going. We might end up in recession or even depressions. A lot of people unemployed, etc. A lot of people have died. But there's some good. There's a little bit of good to it. Again, we see some of the good the people who rise up to the challenge and they try to help out as much as they can, right? And for us here today, if it had not been for this pandemic and that we're shut in, the social distancing and having to stay at home, we wouldn't be having this class online. So this is also a good opportunity that's come from, you can say, a bad event. Okay. So now the Tao is, you can say there are two phases. One is one in motion. The other one is in kind of passivity or calm or stillness. Okay, so normally, in normal times, of course, we can have, we conduct classes, people come to the temple, we can propagate Tao, people receive the Tao, but that's kind of, we can't really do that right now during this time. And so we kind of, because that is all kind of like the external stuff that we can do. But today we can't do that, and so we have to focus more on the internal. This is a time for reflection, self-reflection, introspection, to review our own inner self, our own character, to try to work on those virtues. It could be patience, it could be all sorts of things that we reflect on the things that we've done, whether we can become a better person to kind of overcome obstacles, to get rid of our bad temper, correct our mistakes, things like that. So this is a time for that internal cultivation. Okay. All right. Okay. So Buddha talks about these. These are what I call these equalizers in life. And it applies to everyone. Okay. So it doesn't matter what kind of status you have, how much money you have, etc. This is we will all suffer from these. These are the most important of four basic ones: birth, aging, sickness, and death. Okay, so no one escapes these. And then also, then there are four others. So one is the separation from loved ones. Okay, contact with those with dislike. Yeah, unfortunately, we deal with these throughout our lives. Unfulfilled wants and desires. Okay, so this is also, when you want something and you can't get it. That's also suffering, okay? The five skandhas. Five skandhas are aggregates. These are really what, these are, okay, the components are form or object, okay, so of our senses, basically. And then the sensation, the perception, the impulse, the conscious attachments. Okay, so this is basically, what this does is creates the illusion of self and reality, okay? We think this is real, okay? Actually, the Buddhists tell us that all this is not real. Okay, so it's not to say that it doesn't exist. It exists in a certain sense, but it's an illusion that we think. So because of that illusion, we become so attached to it. Okay, we become so attached to this reality that we become it, and so that's where we become lost in this world. Okay, lost in this cycle of constant suffering. Okay, so we have to realize that. The choices we make are very important. Difficult, we can make difficult choices, basically, depending on our choices. So we have to have wisdom, okay? We have to have wisdom in exercising our choices, life choices, okay, that we make. Some choices will end up, in an easy path. Others will cause things to become difficult for us. So we need to choose wisely. Okay, we don't want to live a difficult life for no good reason. Okay, there are lessons in life that we need to learn. All right, many valuable lessons to be learned from both the good and the bad. Okay, so in the good, we definitely don't want to take things for granted. Be grateful and appreciative. Emulate the good in others. When we see other people doing good things, we want to try to follow and do those things as well. When things are bad, we don't want to complain. We shouldn't be complaining about other people or trying to blame other people. We need to learn to sympathize with others in this situation. Now, the fact that we experience it ourselves, we know what it feels like. So we can then later on sympathize with others when we see them in this situation. Okay, it also allows us to self-reflect, to be repentant and humble. Or at least that's the lesson that we should learn, that we should learn to do that. This is the way to kind of overcome those bad experiences, those bad things in life. Okay, so, what Buddha, I would say that this is probably the most profound thoughts that that has come out of, in the whole world. Okay, so Buddha realized these Four Noble Truths, that life is suffering, suffering arises from desires, that there is an end to suffering, and that there is a way to end that suffering, okay, which he calls the Noble Eightfold Path, which is having the right view, understanding of thoughts, right speech, action, livelihood, right concentration, wisdoms. Okay, so that this is beyond this topic, but just know that the truth of suffering, that life is suffering, although it's not 100%, but we have to realize that because life is impermanent, that we constantly in this cycle of life and death and rebirth, then you can say that is always suffering until we wake up. Buddhists say that we are like living in a dream world, or maybe it's in a nightmare, okay, but we're constantly living in this dream or nightmare, and we're not waking up. The day that we awaken, that we wake up, then we realize that, this is the life I've been living, it's because of my ignorance, because of my desires. So we have to kind of wake up. So the Tao is here to, the saints and sages, they were here, they come to this world to try to awaken the sentient beings from the ignorance. Okay, so, and then once we learn that, we also want to help guide others towards this awakening. So it's not just for ourselves. We want to spread the message, try to get other people, as many others, to become awake and to leave this path of suffering. Okay. Life is a means to an end. Okay, so the material gain in life is transient. Again, that's all temporary. One day you may gain something, next day you might lose it or lose something else. Okay, so we want to realize our true potential as future Buddhas. See, this is really the most important thing, is that we can become Buddhas. It's a question of whether we want to or not, right? Or we can just become an ordinary person and just live our lives the way everyone else does and continue this constant cycle. But I think, most of us, when we realize, well, life is, it's not always good, that being a Buddha is the best choice, okay? So only the intangible gains are truly lasting, which we're talking about virtues and merits, okay? So these are things that we do that also are part of our character, if you will, our virtues. Okay, so Buddha left a life of comfort and luxury to seek the truth and liberation from suffering. So, for someone who had everything, and he gave that up because he saw what the human condition was like. He saw suffering. He saw the impermanence of life. And so he wanted to seek an answer. It's like, well, is there something else or beyond this? Okay, I mean, if life is just about, these suffering, then it's kind of meaningless. All right, so basically, he achieved he had the noble and spiritual achievement. That is something that we should try to strive forward. Okay, so we have to know our true self. We have this Buddha nature, that we have great potential. Okay, and we should not waste that. Okay, don't waste it on these mundane things. Okay, awaken to the illusions of life, the rat race, in the pursuit of material things, right? That's all an illusion, and it all disappears at the end. Okay, realize the unpredictability, impermanence of life so that we can make the most of our time. Again, seize the moment. We have no idea when, so again, when something like this happens, pandemic, we realize that, wow, we can't go on with our normal lives. and then learn the lessons in life so that we don't have to keep suffering over and over again. Everything in life is a lesson that we have to learn. If we don't learn that lesson, it's going to keep coming back and back to us again, and we have to experience it over and over again. So definitely learn the lessons. Be grateful, content, positive, repentant, and humble. Those are this attitude that we have to take in life, and this will help us. I guarantee you that this will help us in our lives in a good way, and it will help us to improve and to reach our goal. All right, live a meaningful or noble life to free ourselves from suffering. So try to take, we follow the path of Buddha, okay, to transcend, to go beyond this cycle of suffering, right? So that if we can leave the cycle ourselves, then we can then come back and help others leave the cycle. I mean, if we are caught up in it ourselves, then there's no way that we can help others. Right? Destiny is ultimately, it's in our own hands. We choose to do what we want to do, and we can choose our destiny. Okay, so ultimately we cannot blame anyone else for what we've achieved. Even though we may start off in different conditions, circumstances because of our karma, but that's okay. So that's why this achievement is ultimately, it's all relative. So again, we don't compare, we shouldn't compare to other people, what other people can achieve. We do our best to achieve, and that's really all that matters. Okay. All right, so finally, this is a song by our holy teacher, Jigong Living Buddha. It's called I Believe, and that's the name of the melody. Goes like this. Enter the world, stand shoulder to shoulder. The world depends on me to alter. Okay, with cheerful smile and great generosity, let Tao spirit appear naturally. Distant vision does the broad mind provide. Persist in making forward stride. Without complaint, fulfill our vows. Do not wait. Be thankful for karma this great. In everyone's good nature, in God I believe. That nothing divides us, I do believe. With a heart full of zeal, devotion, and mercy, build an ideal world of tranquility. In balanced inner power, in God I believe. That Buddhas are at my side, I believe. Having correct ideals with willingness and joy, one becomes noble and saintly. So have faith in yourself, really. Ultimately, yes, we have faith in God, we have faith in Buddhas, but we have to have faith in the fact that we have this Buddha nature, that we are Buddha. That's how we should think, that we are Buddha, that we can do what we want to do, what we need to do. Okay, so with this, I guess I finish the talk. Okay, so if there, so I want to thank Grace of Heaven, thank everyone. If I had said anything wrong and or not satisfactorily, I know that, because this actually, I kind of put this together very quickly. I didn't have enough time, but I know it's not as polished as it should be. I asked the Buddhists for forgiveness, and also for the transmitters and lecturers for their corrections. So are there any questions or anything? If you have questions, you can either type it or you can, I don't know if you remember about raising your hand to open your mic. And okay, so Nicholas, you asked, is the class held every Tuesday? Yes, so this is kind of at least while we're, in this situation that we're in, every Tuesday at the same time, we'll have this online class. Anything else? Oh, okay. So Carrie, with the C, go ahead and you can open up your mic and talk.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and good morning, lecturer Jen. I have one question is that, is it is it convenient to share the PPT file to the group so that we can have more chance to review it and practice it?
Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, realize that the slides are not very, they're not perfect, of course. But yeah, I mean, I can do that, and I mean, I'm recording this, so I'll put the recording. I guess, yeah, I'll put it on. It'll be on YouTube, and I can post the link as well.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. Okay, so anyone else? Okay, Tyler, that's a good question. So, regards to this pandemic, how's it related to our current situation of animal slaughter, right? So, basically these disasters, these pandemics, all these things, there are causes, of course, and so animal slaughter, the killing, right? We think that because we didn't kill. Let's say we're eating meat, and we didn't kill that. Of course, the animal had to be killed. Okay. So basically, all this killing is bad karma. Okay, and it's basically there are two types of karma. I mean, I guess we'll probably have another class on specifically on karma, but karma comes in two flavors: individual karma and group or collective karma. And so like the karma of an entire nation or the karma of society versus my personal karma. And so what we're experiencing here, yeah, it could be both, that because of all the killing, there are many philosophers, sages who've said in the past that, why do we have wars? Why do we have all this killing? Is because of all the killing that we're doing, to animals. Not just people. Okay, so there is a connection there. It's just that, from a more scientific view, it's hard to make that connection. Okay, but from our understanding, because animals also have a soul. Okay, so there is Buddha nature. That's what gives them life. Right. So, and they could be the reincarnation of people too. I mean, so whether we're humans or animals, we've been both throughout many lifetimes, right? So, that's there is something, animals, they feel, right? Any sentient being has feeling, and of course, no one wants to be killed. I mean, just ask yourself that whether you want to suffer death. If not, then we should not be taking the lives of animals either. Okay. Okay, Johnny, you had want to talk? You can open up your mic.
Are you hearing me now?
Yeah.
Right. My question is isn't this a sign that humanity should now see the necessity to become vegetarians and stop eating all this meat and so forth to help so we don't have something like this another time?
Yeah, I really wish that, I don't know, well, because today everything is based on, the scientific approach, the method to study things. And so if there's a scientific method, using the scientific method, they can discover that, well, it's because there is that link, because to the killing of the animals that we have this type of thing. Now, obviously, this virus did come from an animal. It came from a bat originally, and it's then jumped to another animal before jumping to human beings. So there is that connection. Whether it's the connection of, because we ate the animal, that's not so clear. But because this kind of, the way it gets transmitted is through basically contact through the air or, through contact. Okay, so I think it would be difficult for them to establish a true causal connection between, the killing of animals and this event, unfortunately. And so from government, you can say from government policy, they would not, come up with that. Okay. So unfortunately, so it's really more for us. So that's why we also have to educate, people about causality and karma, that they are in fact related. But really, it's if people don't believe, then there's not much that you can do. It's very hard to convince them.
Lecture time.
Yeah.
This is Mark. I have a couple of points from Holy Teacher. He gave the scriptures on March 22nd. 2 points, 2 main points we should do now. One is every day, every moment, we need to control and maintain our thoughts. So very pure, very positive, and good thoughts. Every day, every moment, we should maintain that. That's Holy Teacher mentioned it. Second point is every day in the morning and night, we should repent ourselves. Okay, that's the only way we can reduce the karma and increase our wisdoms. So that's why he mentioned it on the scripture on March 22nd in Taiwan. So, what happened yesterday? We find out Iowa, the meat plant, which some Tao members worked there. Hundreds of people got the virus, include our Tao members too. So, Johnny, you're right. We should encourage our friends at least try vegetarian food as much as they can. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Transmitter Lin. We, for those, of course, of our DAO members, obviously not, probably the majority of the DAO members are not vegetarian. And so we definitely, that's a place to start. We have to encourage at least the DAO members to become vegetarian, since at least they believe in this, and they should know about karma, that this is definitely, the Buddhas in the various scriptures, revelations in the past, well, since the beginning, of course, they've all talked about, we should become vegetarian. And ultimately, to be a cultivator, to become a Buddha, we do have to be vegetarian. I mean, there's no Buddha who's eating meat. And so, but more recently, they've really been stressing that point, emphasizing it a lot. And so, because you can say the time is urgent, right? We are in this white period. We don't know when that ultimate, what we say, because in the white period, remember the wind, there is this gangfeng, I don't know how you can explain that. It's this terrible wind that will be the final calamity. But before that, there will be all these other calamities like pandemics and other disasters. And so if we are vegetarian, and especially if we take the vegetarian vow, we will have, basically we have like a flag that indicates, if we received the vow, we've taken the vow, and the Buddhas and saints, they will try to help us. They can see that we have this flag, and that they will try to save us in these times. So that it really is very important. I mean, we can't overemphasize this. That we should try our best to become vegetarian. I mean, today it's very easy. I mean, there's really no reason to continue to eat meat. I mean, we have all these options available to us. So, do our best to do that, and really make that vow, or, be resolved in wanting to be vegetarian. And then if you've been able to do it for a while. I mean, we of course also exclude basically the onion, garlic, that kind of thing. And if we're able to do that for a while, let's say 6 months to a year, as we practice that ourselves, then we can take the vow. And taking the vow, the difference between taking the vow and not taking the vow, there's a world of difference. And so we do encourage people to, if they're able to become a vegetarian and then take the vow as the second step. Okay, because it could be the difference between life and death, really. Okay, so yeah, I mean, okay, so any other? Okay, so if there's no other questions, then I guess we will finish up then. And again, the recording I'll post that later on, and I guess maybe the PowerPoint. Well, I'll give it to you. I'll send it to you privately. I guess I don't want to just put the PowerPoint out there for everyone, but because it's not it's not as good as it should be. But for your own personal reference. Okay, so next week we will have another topic. I'm not exactly sure what that is yet. Have yet to be decided. And same time, same place. Okay, so good luck with everyone. Good, have a good day. Have a good week, and I hope you've gotten something out of this that's useful. Maybe get you thinking a little bit more. Have better perspective on life. What's more important? Okay, and all right. Thank you for your time as well.